Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Nikki here, and today we are at the kitchen bench. That means we are going to make a mess. Firstly, I have an old piece of white sheet here that I am going to turn into a journal cover. And I'm just using very simple supplies. I have grabbed some glue. It's just cheap craft glue that I poured into a bowl, and I have added some water to dilute it and make it a little bit more spreadable. I have a selection of tissue paper. I have a black and white printed one, a few pieces of metallic gold, a Tim Holtz roll, and a piece of dressmaking pattern. So you just need any form of thinner types of paper. I have some serviettes of which I have removed all the backing pieces, so that is just the top ones with the prints on them. I just have a few paints that I'm going to play with. I'm sort of going for a rich wintry vibe here with sort of in my head. Let's see how it works out. I have a thin brush with some water to use to help tear out parts of the serviettes that I want to use, and a large old brush, and also a little like a spatula type brush. So that's it. Very, very, very simple supplies. Now, I got this idea after watching a video from Carrie's Mixed Media Art. The title caught my eye because it was called Making Fabric from Paper. And I watched the video, and I will link it down below. And so I watched this video, and I loved how she used this method to turn paper into a very fabric-like arrangement. After she'd done the paper one, she also did some with fabric, and that's where when I decided I have got to give this a go. So I have this old white sheet that I use for all sorts of things to paint on and everything, and I thought, look, I have all these supplies in my stash. Why don't we give it a go? So what I'm doing here is very generously applying the glue that has been watered down just to make it more spreadable. And that's what she did in her video. So I'm doing exactly the same thing. And we're just putting a very generous layer down. I decided not to go right to the edge because I'm having a go at making this, but I haven't exactly decided how I'm going to do it. And I don't know exactly what size I want either. So I thought, right, we won't go to the edges. I'll keep that in case I want to fold it over and sew it down or something. Look, I really don't know. This is 100% experimental. If I like it, I will figure out what I'm going to do with it. But I thought I will keep the border, and that way if I want to sort of have some thinner fabric to play with, well, that's what we're going to do. Then all you do is you grab pieces of tissue. They can be any size. They can be any shape. I have decided just to tear mine, not cut them neatly. I don't want it to look like a perfect piece of patchwork. And then you just start gluing them down. Now, later on in this video, I will be coming back to you after I had finished this layering. And one thing I just want to mention, when you are putting down your tissue paper, try and be careful to put it down sort of as smoothly as you can. I have a couple of air bubbly sort of things in my finished piece. I don't really care about that. It gives it a little bit more texture, and it still looks amazing. But I realise that a little bit more care, just making sure that you sort of put the piece of tissue down and then don't drop it straight flat down, sort of like, I think that's sort of what I did. Some of them I know I spread them out, and they're the ones that look absolutely perfect. And as I said, I'm not worried about the few little lumpy, bumpy bits in there, but it's just a little hint for you that when you are doing this same thing, just try and put it down as smoothly as possible. It will never be perfect. Serviettes wrinkle, that's just the way it goes, but it's all good. It's certainly worth it. So I'll just sit and watch how I piece the different sizes together, and I'll be back shortly to take you through the next step. Okay, so now I have grabbed my first serviette, and what you do, you don't wait for it to dry. You just keep going layer after layer. I didn't stop, I just kept going, and I thought, yeah, it might take a few days to dry, but you just do it all in one go. So what I'm doing here off camera, you can't see it because I obviously have this in my entire frame, is I've just used a very fine paintbrush with some water to trace around the area that I want to use, and you just gently tear it, and it provides a nice sort of rough edge but not as sharp as if you would cut it with scissors. So you'll see I do a few pieces from my selection of serviettes here, and it's just a really easy way. It matches, of course, all the other rough edges too, like because everything else has been torn. Now it's time to grab some paint. Again, I'm just popping some paint down onto my paint plate. Again, you can't sort of get that onto the screen as well, but you don't need to see that. And what I did decide to do was to use this rubber paintbrush, like a spatula thing, because it's a bit softer than that rough brush. I was just worried I might tear all these tissue papers if I use that initial glue brush. So I'm literally just dabbing down bits and pieces. I like the way it actually gets quite transparent in some spots, because I wasn't after full coverage here. I just want to add some highlights. So we started off with the sort of very hot pink, and we'll just progress through a couple of other colours here. I'll even do a little bit of mixing because I wanted a beautiful plum colour, but I don't have acrylic paint in that colour. So I sort of started mixing, and I love this colour that I just managed to create. It was just sheer luck. It was a bit of purple mixed in with the pink, and I decided that was a great colour. I was very, very happy with that. But as I said, sheer luck. And I'm just adding dobs around the place. I don't want to cover up all the beautiful tissue papers. I want the gold tissue paper to still shine through. Just adding a little bit for fun, as I said, this is an experiment. I've never done anything quite like this before, and I'm amazed actually at how it turned out, and I have a funny feeling I'll be definitely making some more of these. Then I think the next one I'm grabbing is some gold paint. I love Jo Sonja Gold. It's very opaque and it's so pretty. And again, I'm just dabbing it around the place. It's a very, very rich gold, and I think that's suited. The other thing is I wanted to make sure I blended the gold in with some of the coloured paint. I just didn't want these big gold blobs everywhere. So just adding a bit of gold. It's one of those things, it's really hard to know when to stop when you're doing something like this. It's so easy to just keep going because it's fun and it does look good, but you have to stop somewhere. But just adding little bits, trying not to overdo it. But anyway, I like gold, and so it makes it very hard. So I will be back very shortly and I will show you the finished result after this has had some time to dry. Okay, so a few days have passed. I was very busy, so I just let this sit there and dry, but I am so happy with how this turned out. It's just absolutely gorgeous. All of my gold now has a little bit of a rose gold sort of hint to it almost, thanks to the combining with, the purpley, plummy coloured paint. But I just cannot believe how beautiful this has turned out. And it was so very simple. So as it is right now, this would be perfect to use, to cover an old book with, or to use a piece of cardboard from a box and turn it into a fabulous journal cover. I want to do something a little bit different with this. I've made it really quite large because I want to create one of those fold over flap style journals. I've never done one before. So I obviously have to work out, what size I want, etc., and then cut it to the correct size I need. What I also did was do the other side. Now, obviously, if you're just going to cover a book, you don't need to do the insides. That would be a waste. But because I want a flap style, hang on, this is a little bit tacky there. I want, a fold over style. I decided to do the inside. So I did exactly the same process, except in this case, I did not add any paint. I've just kept it as the softer, more neutral colours, and haven't quite decided if I'll add anything else to this or just leave it as it is. Now, this is quite sturdy. It should make quite a good wrap style journal. It is pretty thick now. But what I may do, I haven't decided yet. That's what we are going to ponder. I may sew around the edges to give us, you know, a little bit more stiffness. I may sew all the way through it. Haven't quite decided how we're going to do this yet, but that will be in another video that will come up when I've made a decision. But look, this is a really fun and easy project, especially if you have a particular theme you want to work to. You can just make anything you want. And I'm just so happy with how this turned out. I can't believe how gorgeous it is. So there we go. That is a wrap up of creating your own very unique fabric to cover a journal with. Definitely worth having a go at. It's a lot of fun. And look, the world's your oyster. Do with it whatever you please. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little craft with me, and you give it a go too. Until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye for now.